Grant, Lord, that I may speak, not with plausible words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of your Holy Spirit, of your Spirit's power, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. When I was in high school, I usually felt like the weirdest guy in the room. And some of you might be thinking that's an accurate self-assessment. But I was just totally self-conscious most of the time. And maybe some of you can identify with that if you're a teenager, young 20s, maybe you remember those days for yourself. I was always wondering if people were noticing what a total weirdo I was. Seriously. Noticing all my problems. You know how that feels? And thankfully, most people don't notice most of our problems. You know, we're successful at hiding them, or they're just too busy being wrapped up in their own problems. But you know what? God does see all of that. His all-seeing eyes discover the real me. Not just the me that I project for everyone to see. He sees past all that with a deep scan of our lives. And we embrace that fact every time we start the service. Almighty God, to you all hearts are open, all desires known, and from whom no secrets are hid. Every Sunday, we walk past that chapel icon that Tamara so beautifully created for us. Jesus, the Pantocrator, the ruler of all. You ever notice his eyes? Next time you walk past, just go look him in the eyes. And you'll see what a good impression they give of that all-seeing gaze of God. We gather in the pews every Sunday, chatting, praying, listening to the music. Here we are, we just come in from our busy week, and then immediately the deep scan begins. Under the all-penetrating eyes of Almighty God, it's like walking through that security thing in the airport. Only this one doesn't just see what's in our pockets. This deep scan shows what's in our heart. You might be dressed up and looking good in your Sunday go-to meetings. Might have your hair done, freshly shaved, looking good in your outfit. I mean, I'm looking good in my outfit, right? You can't see anything that's under this. I mean, for all you know. Woo! All right? You don't see what's under this, which is why clergy wear vestments. All right? But God does. And that's a scary fact. It's clear in our Old Testament reading this morning. God is giving the deep scan to 7 brothers, the sons of Jesse. They are in Bethlehem. God sent Samuel to find a man to rule Israel after Saul's fall, which we saw last week. King Saul has demonstrated what's in his heart. He's been lying to himself. He's been following his own way. He doesn't trust God enough to obey him because he's allowed his heart to be pulled in several other different directions, things that are more important to him than Yahweh. Saul feels inadequate and terribly self-conscious in the role of king, like, why am I here? And under stress, the stress of leadership, it's getting worse. It's a downward spiral in Saul's life. So God tells his prophet Samuel, I've rejected Saul from being king over Israel. And so the prophet comes to the house of Jesse looking for a successor among his fine, strong sons, 7 of them. And they all get lined up in their Sunday go-to meetings. The prophet sizes each one up, from the oldest, the most likely heir to the throne, to the youngest. The prophet sees what's on the outside, sizing them up, but God sees on the inside. It's the deep scan. And down the line, the prophet goes from the oldest to the last, the least, the little punk kid who they didn't even think, there's no way it's David because he's the little punk kid. Keep him out there with the sheep. David doesn't even get called in to meet Samuel. All his older brothers are bathed in their Sunday best clothes. David's still out in the field, grimy, stinky. His hair, I picture him with like some dried blood on his arm for where he bonked his elbow yesterday. And one of his brothers runs out there to him in the field and drag him in. And I imagine David's out there in the field singing a little song to himself. Maybe he's singing to the sheep too. Keep them from being too bored. And I imagine that song is preserved for us now, 3,000 years later. 3,000 years later in the 23rd Psalm. Let's just pretend like that's what's going on in this moment. David is out there singing the 23rd Psalm, and we get to join him this morning in the psalm. And as he comes through the door, his mother's like, wiping the smudge off his face, kind of doing his hair. You know how moms do that? And she brings him before the prophet. And God sees David's heart. And he whispers in Samuel's ear, here he is. And what does God see? He sees love and trust. Because he's been hearing it in the shepherd's song out there in the field just before David got dragged in. God has been enjoying the song earlier, listening to David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Even the sheep like it. God has enjoyed David's song. And you can imagine in David's life that those words would have been hard learned. Living out in the fields with the sheep, there were days when he didn't know where dinner was to come from for himself or the sheep. He didn't know whether they'd be dinner for some predator in the valley below. Being a shepherd is a very hard and lonely job. But David knew God well enough to love and trust him. And this freed David from the distorting grip of fear and self-promotion, of deception, of self-aggrandizement, self-promotion. Saul crumbled in the grip of those things. Maybe David won't. So David gets the deep scan. And you know what, folks? We get it too. All of us. And that's scary, isn't it? To come under that kind of scrutiny. I mean, it'd be terrifying to have like a team of FBI agents sifting through your life, investigating you, trying to find the crime. But God sees all. He sees all? Yeah. You know, we all have these things that we hide from others. Lying, masking, evading, to keep from being discovered. And we all know that feeling, that ice in the veins feeling of getting busted, caught, exposed, caught with your pants down, figuratively or literally. Ooh. Adam and Eve hid behind fig leaves, ashamed. And there's just no hiding from the deep scan. So when you see somebody's humiliation, when you see their nakedness exposed, all the unflattering bits, or you see someone horribly disfigured or injured, our first reaction is to turn away, to cover it, to close the door. You don't want to see it. It's cringe-inducing. It's too much information. And it's scary to think of God recoiling from us like that. He sees everything. Everything? Everything. Rejecting us. I think that is the deepest fear in a human heart. We fear rejection, abandonment from God for what He sees in me. But God does not turn away. That's the remarkable thing. God doesn't recoil in disgust, revulsion. And here's why. When He sees us in the deep scan, He sees Jesus standing with us saying, "She's mine." Okay? His arms embrace us. His goodness covers us. We get to stand in His shoes. We occupy His place in the Father's heart. We're baptized in His water, and He washes away our wickedness, all of it. You just have to believe that, as hard as it is to believe sometimes. We know from the Psalms that David did. In the 23rd Psalm, in the presence of the enemy, in the valley of death, in times of anxiety and failure, he knew the presence of the shepherd, and it brought him through. In Psalm 51, in his deepest failure, David is able to trust God to create in me a clean heart, to take not your Holy Spirit from me, to wash me through and through from my sin and purge me of my iniquity. He trusts God to do that. Do you? All right? And when you do, this creates an engine of growth in our lives, chugging away through good times and bad. If God's not recoiling from us, we don't need to try to hide ourselves from him. We don't need to lie to ourselves, to others, to God. We can be transparent with the shepherd. He knows anyway. You can just confess. You can just be brutally honest. It's okay. He prefers it that way. All right? We can hear from him instead. You see, God knows, or David knows, that if God is close enough to see my heart, he's close enough to speak to my heart as well. All right? And that makes all the difference in our life. This is at the heart of that engine of growth. We're drawn into conversational intimacy with God. He assures us of pardon and protection. He speaks words of life that satisfy our deepest longings. He directs our path on a journey of transformation. And it's rarely easy, but it takes your moments of exposure and failure to do it. It's part of the cycle of that engine of growth in our life. It's those moments of failure and exposure that end up, by his grace, saving our souls. So it's in those darkest moments that David, by God's grace, is able to write those beautiful psalms. He endures the deep scan, embraced by God's love, and he changes. It worked for David. It didn't work that way for Saul. And you and I, we want to be like David, not Saul, okay? You just got to learn how to work with this cycle. I've seen how it has worked in me from the time I was 19 years old, freshman and then sophomore in college, a painfully self-conscious and deeply flawed person. His grace brought me little by little along the way. A long way. I've come a long way, folks. And he's still at it. Truly, deeply, painfully, still at it. The key here is to embrace the deep scan, to not cringe from it, to embrace his love in the midst of it, to hear the shepherd's voice assuring us through the pain. This is the engine. And David was able to express that, to experience it, to express it musically for others to share in, including Saul. I love how this passage ends. As Saul descends into madness, David rises in service and usefulness. He's plucked from the sheepfold to the king's court. He becomes the musician to soothe Saul's tormented soul with the 23rd Psalm. Isn't it just fascinating how God works to bring the newly anointed, secretly anointed future king and to give him a front row seat to the job so he could see from Saul what to do and what not to do. He got a first-rate mentorship for his future job as king. I want you to see how God is working in your life, in your circumstances, in the same way, to change you into the person that he's calling you to be, to make you useful for future service to others. Boom. Thank you.